Welcome to the third episode of my exotic tier list, where I review every exotic weapon in Destiny 2 in the order they are listed in the Exotic Collection Volume 1 book from the Bungie store. You can find a link to the full playlist in the description. In this episode we are reviewing the heavy arc sniper rifle D.A.R.C, and as with the previous two episodes, we will be slapping it onto my tier list at the end of the video to hopefully build out quite an interesting tier list as the series progresses. D.A.R.C has been known as the Destiny community's measuring stick for as long as I can remember, being used to find drop-off ranges for other weapons, not D.A.R.C, and as such, its exotic perk, Personal Assistant, describes it as aim at an enemy to view its health and other critical information in the scope. This weapon's exotic perk is to give you information. Yay. D.A.R.C does have an AI built in, D.A.R.C of course standing for Data Analysis, Reconnaissance and Cooperative Intelligence. Therefore, by the end of this video, I think I might be on its hit list. The other perk of note that D.A.R.C has is Target Acquired, and this says when Personal Assistant is active, this weapon has better target acquisition, deals significantly more precision damage, and jolts the target. This, in my opinion, is the exotic perk. There's a few things to unpack from the Target Acquired trait. The first one is this weapon has better target acquisition. That means that whilst Personal Assistant is active, you will have better aim assist, and it's easier to hit your target essentially. The second section is deal significantly more precision damage. This means that if you hit a precision shot whilst this is active, you will deal roughly 55% extra damage from my testing. The last section is jolts the target. Jolt is an arc keyword, and therefore it'll play into some arc builds if you go down that route, but as far as the weapon itself goes, it'll jolt the target and it will also deal some damage to nearby enemies, which could potentially defeat them. Before I get on to comparisons with similar sniper rifles, I want to give my thoughts on these two traits first. The intrinsic trait being Personal Assistant seems a bit redundant to me, because it provides absolutely no assistance whatsoever, ironically. Giving information about the enemy's health and distance away from the enemy seems a bit silly as the exotic trait. Target Acquired, I feel, should be the actual exotic trait. Regardless, both perks are there, and Target Acquired could be good, depending upon how much base damage the weapon does, because of course if the base damage of the weapon is pretty bad, the 55% increase to damage isn't going to be that good. So we'll see. The two sniper rifles I've decided to compare D.A.R.C to are the uncommon sniper rifle Luna Nullis 2 and the legendary sniper rifle Iclos SR version 1.0.2. These sniper rifles have the same RPM as D.A.R.C at 140 and also have the same impact of 55 with a very similar mag size, Luna having 6 and Iclos having 7, with D.A.R.C also having 7. The first comparison is damage, with Luna doing 21,194 precision damage, Iclos does 21,290, which is an increase of 0.45%, and D.A.R.C does 23,418, with an increase of 9.99%. That is without the Personal Assistant trait active. For non-precision damage, Iclos Sniper Rifle does 0.44% extra damage over Luna, and D.A.R.C does 10% extra damage over the Iclos Sniper Rifle, which is roughly the same as what we see with the precision damage. With Personal Assistant active, D.A.R.C does roughly 71% extra damage compared to the Iclos Sniper Rifle, which is quite a hefty increase. The next comparison is reload speed, with Iclos Sniper Rifle reloading 21.4% slower than the Luna, and D.A.R.C reloading 2.95% slower than the Iclos Sniper Rifle. Stability is a bit difficult to measure here, given that each scope has a different amount of zoom, and Luna also only fires 6 shots as opposed to the 7 of Iclos and D.A.R.C. However, you can see roughly that D.A.R.C is mostly the more stable one, and Luna is, after only firing 6 shots, at a worse stability than Iclos, which means it is severely worse than Iclos if it were to shoot a 7th shot. In addition to this, D.A.R.C's recoil is mostly vertical, whereas Iclos and Luna are a bit side to side as well. Moving on to the catalyst, it only increases D.A.R.C's stability by 20 points from 75 to 95, and as you can see, it has a tremendous impact on D.A.R.C's recoil, making it extremely accurate. After having seen all of these comparisons, I think it's fairly easy to see why the Destiny community regards D.A.R.C as its measuring stick. If I had to choose one word to describe my time using D.A.R.C, I would describe it as inconsistent. Whilst on paper you can do an extra 71% damage over the Iclos Sniper Rifle, which is otherwise very similar in almost every way, getting the Personal Assistant trait to activate in addition to also hitting a precision area on a target can be quite annoying to do, because sometimes the precision hit area might be quite difficult to hit, and also Personal Assistant might just choose not to activate. I do think this is partly D.A.R.C's AI messing with me. Ultimately, D.A.R.C suffers from two main issues, the first of which being its inconsistency, and the second of which being that it is a heavy ammo sniper rifle. To solve the inconsistency issue, I believe the need to activate Personal Assistant to get the extra precision damage should be removed, and it should just be a blanket 55% increase on the precision damage D.A.R.C provides. This would lead to a much more consistent experience, a much better feeling experience, and I think would solidify its reputation as a heavy exotic weapon. The other solution is we leave D.A.R.C.I completely as it is, as far as personal assistant goes, and we remove it from being a heavy ammo sniper to a special ammo sniper, bringing it in line with all the other 140 RPM sniper rifles in Destiny 2. This would mean it would be far more forgiving if you were to miss a shot or mess up a personal assistant bonus damage shot, because getting special ammo is much easier than getting heavy ammo. And whilst I would be inclined to say it needs a slight damage reduction if we move it to being special ammo, I think the inconsistency it has with getting the extra precision damage to trigger more than counterbalances it. I also think that Jolt doesn't do an awful lot for D.A.R.C.I, to be completely honest. I'm aware that it would allow you to tie into some arc builds a bit better, and for that it's nice, but I don't think it's very worthwhile in any conversation as to why it's an exotic or not. After having used D.A.R.C.I for far too long, I have to say that it is inconsistent, irritating and frustrating. But it does have potential, and I think that's possibly the most annoying thing about the whole experience. The highlight of my time at D.A.R.C.I was defeating invaders in Gambit using the weapon. I do think I may have ended a few people's Gambit careers during this time. I know if I got defeated by a measuring stick, I'd be pretty disgusted. I wouldn't say I have a bizarre hatred for the exotic. However, it certainly isn't good, but fixing one of the two issues I've outlined could redeem it quite a lot and make it somewhat usable. So for now, I have to say, D.A.R.C.I, get in the tray! Let me know your opinion of D.A.R.C.I down in the comments section below, whether or not you believe it does in fact belong in the trash, or perhaps you have a bizarre hatred for the weapon. The next episode will be Graviton Lance, but until then, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.